This is the apartment that I was going to move into. Sitting here, waiting for some people to come help me move. And meditating and thinking. Several thoughts bobbing around in my head right now, but I don't know if I'm at the point of synthesis yet. It's okay though. Let me see how far I can get. People might arrive at any moment. I'm gonna put on my shoes. But again, I'm just thinking about patter, prattle, palaver, ways of stalling with words, the value of meandering speech as an end in itself, means as an end in itself, means towards what? Towards nothing, really. Just speaking, different varieties of speaking. Misconception, apparently, about Milton Erickson, according to his children, was that every word he said was significant. You know, because he's such a master of hypnosis, people tried to read stuff into everything he said. But in fact, a great deal of what he said was just patter. It's just sort of soothing verbal ointment. And get my hat on, my gloves on. There we are. And my gloves, my glovey gloves. Yeah, let me show you the apartment. See what kind of life I'm missing out on. Nice little space. Backyard. One's houses. Like that kind of window. Whatever that's called. But I was listening to a talk. Maybe I'll make a longer response if I have it in me to this YouTube channel. Oh, thou that art thou, or something like that. It's this guy who has great facility with philosophical lingo. He's giving a series of YouTube lectures on Alfred J. Whitehead. Whitehead is this philosopher, sort of an anti-Kant, anti-Hume philosopher, all about how rather than thinking of, the conscious mind and how the conscious mind, systematizing how the conscious mind makes sense of nature, flipping that around and thinking of consciousness itself as an emergent property of nature. And what happens to the mind when you flip it in that way. So I have some kind of desire to connect that idea, to sort of question that from a theological perspective, because it kind of gets you into sort of a pantheistic mode a little bit. But to sort of try to figure out how that relates to the phenomena of hypnosis, the many, many phenomena of trance, trance states, because it seems like Whitehead's point is, or his critique of Hume is based on the fact that Hume begins with sight. As a presupposition, he presupposes the ability to see, and then says that there can be no true causality. Causality is just a presumption. But he's already taken the I for granted. And so you have to go before that, Whitehead says. You have to go to, there's a sensation, a sort of incarnate sense that is prior to sight, to smell, to taste, to touch. Well, closest to touch, really. Touch is, I think touch is the main, here's my friend, I think. It's my main, is the main sense, the sensiest sense. Especially sexual touch. Hey, no parking there, buddy. I should figure out what's going on. Is that my friend or not? Because if not, I gotta tell this stranger to not park there. Okay, that's it. So it was some kind of stranger guy. I told him not to park there. Don't park there, I said. He said, "Very good, sir. Very good, sir." I said, "That's right. And I don't want to see your face ever again." No, it was very cordial. It was very civil exchange between me and this man. Anyway, I had one further thought I'll just try to articulate real quick, and then I got to disassemble this bed. But I think I assembled it in a previous video, maybe. Man, my life. Well, I was just thinking again about how, given the right conditions, it's extremely easy to create a community of people. Like given the right soil conditions, it's easy in a certain way enough to create a garden. If you have the right fertilizer, sunlight, rain, a garden will grow. And it's the same way with human beings and communities. If you have the right social environment, you have some kind of fitting pretext for people to gather at regular intervals, it takes hardly any time at all to for strong social bonds and friendships and so on to form. You see this in college campuses, schools, predominantly. Which is, it's kind of depressing when you feel like you want to be in a garden and you're not, but there's a hopeful side to it too, because it means at an individual level that no matter what happens to us, we still have that latent potential to form those bonds whenever the circumstances would be right. It's not like that capacity decays or goes away. It remains. It's just sort of a latent capacity. That remains dormant as long as people are separated and atomized. But given the right circumstances, could flower once again quite easily. Which is just a kind of hopeful thing, or vaguely encouraging thing, because it means the onus of it, in a certain way, is not completely on us. Because I think one of the things about being lonely and separated and isolated is it can induce a sense of guilt, a sense of shame, like there's something lacking in moi, That prevents me from being able to get by, to get along, getting along with others. And it's not to absolve any kind of personal responsibility, but just to, I don't know, it was just sort of a pleasant thought while I was sitting there in meditation. I was thinking, okay, that's still there, you know, and everybody. It's okay, you know. In a certain way, it's okay. Everything's all right. Things are discombobulated, but not beyond repair. All of the pieces are still present. And, you know, blah, 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 if you can continue to be thoughtful, present, think about these things, maybe there's more hope than one might initially suppose. I come to the garden alone when the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear piping in my ear, the Son of God discloses. And he walks with me, he talks with me, and he swears that I'm his own. And the words we share as we tarry there, no one has ever known. I don't know. It's back and forth between this desire for togetherness and the desire for separateness. Because it is a back and forth. It's these dueling desires for autonomy versus intimacy. Intimacy, autonomy. Autonomy to see the in and out. The in and out. Oh, man. Okay. Well, I don't know. I still got some time. I don't really need to disassemble this bed. It's just, you just kind of got to flop it off, actually. The piece is more or less just going to fall apart. It's not a big deal. So, I don't know. I can just get started, start hauling these boxes by myself. Yeah, might as well. I think I've said my shtick for the morning.